Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I know this one has been a long time coming. I'm sorry, but I think we are pretty close to the new Heresy reveal, so let's get straight into it. First and foremost, we are talking about the Horus Heresy 2.0. I think that's what will also be in the title of this video, but then um, I'm actually talking about the leaked images that were all over the internet. I won't be showing these here because you can find them on any Warhammer forum that has the main armaments of the Space Marines in the name. So you won't need to see the resized, anything the worst quality that would give the YouTube video to those images. Anyway, so that's the first point on. But I think from those leaked images on, um, we can gauge very well how the Horus Heresy 2.0, everybody's calling it Horus Heresy 2.0. That's why I will call it like this in this video. So bear with me, please. We can gauge how the game will look. So basically, it's what I've said for a long time now. It's a upgraded Age of Darkness version of the game. So an upgrade or an update, rather. We will determine if it's an upgrade in the course of this video. An update to the Age of Darkness rules, which were released after the 8th edition of Warhammer 40k was released, when the 7th edition rule set was um, was updated to 8th, and the Horus Heresy no longer was an expansion to Warhammer 40k, but rather became its own game. So from that point on, everyone was either pretty pleased with how the game played or wanted the game to move to 8th edition, 9th edition rule sets. Means more streamlined, yada yada yada. So, from the leaked images, we can gauge that what I've said from the beginning, that the Horus Heresy 2.0, Age of Darkness 2, as I will call it, or 2.0 as everyone else calls it, will be an updated rule set of the Age of Darkness rules, which I like. So my personal opinion here, please don't get mad at me. I don't particularly like the 8th edition rule set for the Horus Heresy, and there's a couple of reasons for that. If you are interested in that, I might make that another video, but I don't want this video to get too long. So, I think an updated 8th edition, updated Age of Darkness 2.0, there you see this talking about all the different Warhammer editions confuses me a little bit. The updated Age of Darkness edition is pretty nice. So we have seen a couple of profiles. And we have seen, for example, that dreadnoughts are monstrous creatures. This is more or less either liked or disliked by the community. And my personal opinion on the dreadnought profile, that it's a monstrous creature, is that it's good. It's just fair, and I will explain to you why. Monstrous creatures in melee are way stronger than walkers could have ever been. This stems from the point that a vehicle with one penetrating hit could be destroyed in one hit, while the monstrous creatures would need to lose all their hit points until they are dead. Now, in the Horus Heresy, the Siege Claw of the Leviathan, we know that it was pretty well known as the Primarch Killer, would inflict multiple wounds if it inflicted a wound on you. So That's why we know the Leviathan, that's the reason the Leviathan was good against monstrous creatures, but generally every other walker that's a melee walker was pretty bad against monstrous creatures because it could be insta-gibbed and usually didn't have a invul save that protected it as well as the Leviathan Dreadnought. So I think melee vehicles becoming, or melee walkers rather, becoming monstrous creatures is a good thing. I will talk about dreadnoughts in particular, later on, but I don't see any reason why a Castellax should be a monstrous creature and a dreadnought should not be a monstrous creature. Moving on. We have seen that there's movement profiles in the Horus Heresy. That means that every unit has in their datasheet a designated move characteristic. I think at first I didn't like it a lot, but I've given it a bit of thought. And now I think it's actually a good idea. Seeing as the Horus Heresy is only focused on humanity at this point, and I don't think that will change, but who knows. At this point, the Horus Heresy is only focused on humanity. That means you need to be deeper in the profiles rather than wider, because you don't have 12 different races that all give you different profiles and different playstyles. You need to get deeper into the profiles to make the units more diverse. So, for example, a tactical space marine has a movement characteristic of 7. That reflects the more gene enhanced nature of the space marine, including also their strength 4, their toughness 4, their initiative 4, the more higher characteristics of a space marine profile. And now that you add the movement characteristic, you go deeper instead of wider. Instead of making space marine profiles different through special rules, you make them deeper through the profiles. So I think that's pretty cool. It also gives you a possibility to make different vehicles better. For example, I have seen a datasheet, I personally, of a Predator that has movement 14, I believe. So, nobody took the Predator, because the Predator was... I mean, it was a cool tank, but the Sicaran was cooler, and the Sicaran was also fast, which the Predator wasn't, so there was really no real point in taking a Predator instead of Rule of Cool. Obviously, always take which units you find are the coolest in this game. This is what the Horus Heresy is all about, and I hope the Horus Heresy will keep going that way. But now, you could give the big Sicaran a movement characteristic of 10, which is pretty fast, but give the Predator the movement characteristic of the 14 I've seen on the profile. That profile is widely available on the internet. And you have a differentiation here. The Predator is a faster, more agile, smaller tank, while the Sicaran is a more heavier armored, less fast tank that will balance the vehicles out. Hopefully people will use more Predators. Now to another topic of the video, Dreadnoughts. I wanted to talk about Dreadnoughts and why it is good that they are monstrous creatures. As I have explained, Castellax were monstrous creatures. Melee walkers, because of their vehicle nature, were pretty bad against monstrous creatures in melee, and this comes from me playing a lot of Warhammer before 8th edition. So 3rd till 7th edition, I played the most Warhammer ever, and it was always hard for a Dreadnought to defeat a Wraithlord the Carnifex or the monstrous creatures of other races, and the Dreadnought would always lose. The Dreadnought would even lose to minor monstrous creatures like the Demon Prince in Warhammer 40k, and I think that's why the Dreadnought, being a monstrous creature with toughness 7, is pretty damn cool. Also, having toughness 7 means it can still be hurt by bolters, and that's another nice addition. I know the Dreadnought always had a rear facing of 10 armor value, so you could technically still destroy it with bolters, but it would be hard to attack the rear facing of a Dreadnought if it not was immobilized. That's the second thing. Dreadnoughts, you could have a melee Dreadnought. It gets shot at, maybe not destroyed through the penetrating hit, but it's immobilized now, so your melee Dreadnought is basically useless. It can use the weapons you have put into its hands, but if it's a melee Dreadnought, you'll likely have put a heavy flamer or melters in there. So, it kind of defeats the purpose, really. So, makes melee Dreadnoughts a little more viable, I know. Um, but I still believe that the extremely heavily armored Leviathan may be still a vehicle, because I don't think the Leviathan needed that buff. In all honesty, I don't think the Leviathan needs any buffs, because it's pretty damn strong. But that's not the point of this video. I think Dreadnoughts, maybe the Castaferum Dreadnought, that's the boxy one from 40k, which can also be used in Heresy. If you've watched my 40k Heresy to 40k video, which models you can use, maybe put a link to that in the description or in the info box, I don't know yet. That you can bolter them to death makes actually great sense, because you can defeat them with normal Space Marine fire. So, basically, Dreadnoughts being monstrous creatures. I haven't seen the Leviathan profile, so I can't talk on that, or the Castaferum one, but I think there will either be all monstrous creatures, or only the Leviathan Dreadnought will remain a vehicle. So, vehicles is a good uh, transition to the next topic, because I will talk about vehicles now. So, we're talking about vehicles now. It seems to me that vehicles haven't changed a lot, except the movement characteristic. So we have vehicle facings, we have probably true line of sight on their weapons. I have no info on that, I'm sorry. As I said again, there's images on the internet, but I have not received the full leak of the full rulebook, so I can't talk about that. I can only talk what I've seen on various Warhammer forums that are going for a long, long time. So, that's cool, I think. And I think there needs to be a little change, because the Malcador tank of the that was it was a time there was a time the Malcador tank was pretty strong, because it was a super heavy and could always fire all weapons when it moved. But then it turned into very bad, because the super heavy vehicle Malcador was abused by a lot of Legion players on tournaments. I suppose I've never been to a tournament in any game system, to use it basically as a suicide tank, roll it up into the enemy and explode it into their face. After firing all the barrage weapons, not all the barrage weapons or the templates weapons it had, leaving a big old hole in the enemy lines, or maybe just being destroyed, but it did its part. It gained its 275 points or whatever in killings. So I think the vehicles need to do something there, because the Lehman Russ and the Malcador are basically pretty bad right now. They are in a bad spot because they cannot move and fire their template weapons. And the Malcador even has a demolisher cannon, so you can't fire anything except snapshots. And we know you can't snapshot templates after you fired the demolisher. So yeah, the Malcador and the Lehman Russes need some work, but I'm fairly certain they do that pretty nicely. Then we're going to the next topic, Primarchs. Yes, Primarchs. I love Primarchs because they are the best thing and the reason I started Horus Heresy. And the Primarchs not being a Lord of War anymore, but rather being their own thing in the Force org chart is pretty damn nice. I think that's a good thing because in my smaller games I always had to decide, do I want to take the Typhon? Do I want to take a Primarch? And I generally took my Typhon because Perturabo is more of a commander than a battlefield leader, I would say. Even though his profile suggests that he is a melee beast, I don't think the Primarch of the Iron Warriors taking the field as much as, for example, a Lehman Russ. So that's nice. Obviously, both count, both sections of the Force Ox chart. That means the Lord of War and the Primarch count as count towards the 25% mark. That's also okay. So if you have bigger games, it's easier to bring a Primarch and, for example, a Stormbird or a Mastodon. But keep in mind, you have to have grand, extremely big games to do this, but still pretty cool. And also, the nature of the Horus Heresy generally is to have bigger games rather than smaller ones. So, also very nice. So, that's pretty much it with the topics I wanted to talk about the Heresy 2.0. But I want to give a little guess at the end, talk a couple of minutes about, do we think that we, or do I think, Dantiok, if we receive new models for the Horus Heresy, or is it like a Betrayal at Calf situation where we only get the box set and then maybe the separate releases of the models in the boxes, but nothing more? Everything else is Forge World? Well, the rumors suggest that there's a shift coming to the Horus Heresy, that it's becoming a mainline GW game, and that most stuff will be plastic, and I believe that will be the case for one particularly reason, and that reason is the change of the logo of the Horus Heresy to Warhammer, the Horus Heresy, means it it will be more embraced by GW rather than being the separate thing of Forge World. It suggests that the Horus Heresy is becoming more of a mainline game rather than being the specialist game of Forge World, although I've heard multiple times that Games Workshop has never thought of the Horus Heresy as a specialist game, but rather as a mainline game that was supplied from Forge World. And I think, to be honest, plastic models, the more plastic, the better. Let's hope they bring back beloved armor marks like Mark II. Maybe give us assault squads for Mark, for whatever Mark. Assault squads, breacher squads, predators, and plastic, because the mixed kits are kind of horrible to build. to be completely honest. So let's hope that happens. But I'm pretty confident that it will happen at some point. Whew, that has been a long video, 20 minutes. Thank you all for listening. Everyone that's here, that's still here. Maybe use the hashtag I'm here for heresy. Maybe. Thank you all for listening to me raffle so long. Have a good day. Stay healthy. Keep the heresy train rolling. Be nice to each other when you talk in the video in the description. And bye bye.